Hey, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into episode 24 of the Fourth String Sports Podcast. I am your host, Brady, with my very fired up co hosts, Mitch and Skylar. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Awesome, man. Sports are back.
Sports are back. In case you didn't know, today is officially Thursday, the 23rd of July, the year of our Lord, 2020. And that means that that baseball is officially happening right now. We're not really going to talk about it because the games are happening. We're going to save that for the next episode, but we're just excited that it's back. Some interesting news came out of the MLB we're going to talk about. We're also going to give a little quick update to the football team in Washington and some interesting things in boxing and MMA or whatever fucking fighting.
Let's just say fighting.
Yeah, fighting that we haven't talked about yet. We're also going to break down our what's list. We've got our putts list. We've got our hero of the episode. But the mainstay today is the New England Patriots, Skylar's favorite team. In case you couldn't see because you're listening on some of the devices, he's wearing a bright, flamboyantly red
Drew Bledsoe jersey.
Drew
Bledsoe.
Philip Dorsett jersey. So, yeah, no, we're excited to finally talk about Skylar's team. We talked about me and Mitch's team, the Packers, a couple episodes ago. And then we've got the other news coming up here. So we have New Orleans, New York Giants, and New York Jets on the next episodes. On the last episode, we talked about the Minnesota Vikings. Quick update on that as well. We debated whether or not Mike Zimmer was going to be on the hot seat. Minnesota signed him to a multi-year extension literally hours after we get done recording. So whatever.
Same thing after we talked about Kansas City that they
I know. It is what it is. And then fuck me. I lost where I was. Oh, yeah. What's list, putts list, heroes, and other stuff. Follow us on all the shits. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Reddit. Fourth String Sports Podcast on all of it. Email us at fourthstringsp@gmail.com. FOURTH stringsp@gmail.com. So let's get into it, boys. So baseball. The baseball playoff expanded. Is that correct?
Yep.
That is correct.
All right. And now break it down for me. One of you guys, because I only saw a part of it.
Okay, so basically the top two teams that finish in each division will be going to the playoffs, and then there will also be spots for the wild card. So in total, there will be 16 teams playing in the playoffs this year. And if I'm not mistaken, it'll be only for this shortened season, and then next year it goes back to normal.
Yeah.
Which is stupid because this way is way better.
Which, yeah, that's what I think there's like an asterisk or a caveat by that. That's like, if people like this, the fans like it, the players and owners don't really have a problem with it, they'll probably keep it this way. But it's like the same thing where like they did, like the NFL did, you can challenge a pass interference play, and then the next year
sure.
they took it away because they're like, it didn't really change anything because people like all it did was make refs more look at it more before they call it a pass interference. So I mean, I think it's similar where it's like, we're going to test it for a year. If it works, we'll keep doing it. If it doesn't, so be it.
I don't know. They might have to negotiate it to make it a long-term thing with the Players Association. I don't know how it works in baseball.
Yeah,
Well,
they've got – I know that they can institute this, but I think if it's a success ultimately because I think it's something the players would want. Most players, especially in baseball, want an expanded playoff because it gives them more opportunity to pad stats, to get certain bonuses and stuff. Plus, you get paid more money once you're in the playoffs than you do if you're in regular season. So
yeah,
I think I've always hated the way baseball does their playoff. I think it's ridiculous.
It's the worst playoff in all major sports.
So hopefully that changes. But yeah, that's very, very exciting. So we'll see how that works. So that means that there will be 8 NL and 8 AL teams from the playoffs, or to go to the playoffs. Hopefully the Brew Crew can be one of them. Been in the playoffs the last couple seasons. With everybody healthy. So yeah, that's super interesting. We'll keep everybody posted on that. There is baseball games going on right now.
Nats and Yankees right now.
Nats and Yankees, yeah. We'll have all those scores and everything on the next episode. We want to just let a few days of baseball happen so that we can review it a little bit. So then, yeah, let's also give an update here to the Washington football team. Because that's officially what their name is for this season. They have – at first it made it sound like this was just a very temporary thing. Now it is looking more and more like for the entirety of the 2020 season, the team formerly known as the Redskins will just be known as the Washington football team and plan to begin creating and selling attire for that here within the next couple of days. Gentlemen, how fucking stupid is that?
I think it's pretty stupid that you couldn't come up with like any kind of name. I mean, we've thrown out pretty good ideas that I don't think that guy trademarked yet. You know, like
Right?
the Red Tails, the Code Talkers.
He did trademark
Yeah,
Red
both
Tails.
of those he
Oh, he
trademarked.
did?
Yeah,
Oh.
both of those are
Or
trademarked.
Code Talkers is, I don't think, is trademarked.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I heard there was rumors on Reddit last night that they were going to do the DC Sentinels or something like
Yeah,
that.
I messaged Brady about that. That
Who's
was
the
also
name of the
kind
team from the fucking Replacements? Dude?
Replacements.
That's
I
one of
love
my
it.
favorite
It's great.
movies.
Would have been
I love
awesome.
it.
They would be wearing like these jerseys, honestly.
Yeah. But yeah, if you can't come up with a name and then the same day you decide to stick with this new hockey team in Seattle comes up the Seattle Kraken. I mean,
Which
seriously?
I also hate, by the way.
Yeah,
But like
their colors
seriously, you
aren't
can't come
their
up with a
colors aren't
name?
the best either.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Skyler, what's your opinion on it? Because we talked.
I don't like that. That's what they're. I don't like that they're like profiting off of it. Honestly, I like that it. I like that it's like a quick like. Okay, we have all of this Redskin stuff. If we just take the Redskin part off and put Washington on it, it's a quick fix. We can go on with the season. I don't like that. I agree with you both that I don't like that. This is just kind of like we're gonna use this quick fix for the entire season, where they're not gonna be like, because it makes it sound like they're not gonna be trying to figure out a name in the interim, which they should be. Like that should be number one on their list for a lot of things. Besides like get a better offensive line. But
Stop sexually harassing cheerleaders.
yeah,
It's a
them
good
in the
start.
yeah. So there's that. So yeah, I don't like that they're making this temporary fix make it seem like it's a solution to all the problems. I do think that it's a creative idea for a temporary fix. If they're like first 4 games, this is what we're gonna roll out, and we're gonna try to figure out something before then, or like the bye week or whatever. But I don't like that it's looking more like a temporary, more like a temporary fix turned to a permanent fix. I do like that they do seem to be taking their time or getting as many opinions and talk to as many people as they possibly can, fans, alum, like former players, former execs, people like that, to find a team name that suits the organization. I do like that because it's not just I don't trust Dan Snyder just making the call. I don't like that because I think that because like I've told Brady and Mitch before, he'll find the quickest, simplest solution, so he's just done with it. It actually makes it seem like they're taking the time. Whether or not it's going to be a good name, we're gonna have to wait. But I think I trust it better than just Dan Snyder making the call, honestly. But again, I don't like that it's a temporary fix turning into a permanent one.
See, and I hate that he's talking to fans and former players and shit like that because to me, he's just doing it to confirm that he can still use the Redskins name. I wouldn't be surprised, knowing how this organization works and everything that's come out, if he's going to sit down with a roundtable of yes men, of former players who like the name, of fans who like the name, of staff members who like the name, listen to all their opinions, and then decide that the best name to keep would still be the Redskins once all of this hate has died down. Is exactly how I imagine Dan Snyder doing this because they've kept the Redskins trademark. They're keeping that for a reason. And I don't think it's just to financially protect themselves. To me, this is absolutely just a ploy. This is a ploy that I think a shitty owner is going to do to try to reintegrate either the Redskins name, to try to wait until he gets permission from some person to keep the Redskins name, or to wait until he can workshop it enough that he can keep the name Redskins, but maybe change the logo or figure something else out that way. This is absolutely just a ploy. The team could realistically figure out whatever name would work right away. This team is worth millions of dollars. Their owners, their co-owners are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If anybody has a trademark that they want, they can buy it from them relatively easily. There's no use in dicking around with this. Oh, shit, some dude fucking trademarked Red Wolves. All right, let's just call ourselves the fucking Wolves. Who gives a fuck? All right, it's not. It's a fucking team name. It doesn't matter as much as people genuinely think that it does.
I
And
think
even if they do trademark the fucking Red Wolves or the Code Talkers, the Red Tails or whatever, fucking buy the trademark from him. You're worth a shit ton of money. Do it. You have the money to just throw at him. It's not that big of an issue. This, to me, knowing the resources that these guys have, him taking the time to do this is just turning into affirmation bias. He's just going to use it to keep the name Redskins to me.
See, I disagree with you because he has dealt with the hate from people, from a lot of people, and fans and NFL people and just college players saying they don't want to play for the Redskins because of the name for the last specifically 7 years. In 2013, when he said there was no chance in hell that he was going to be changing the name. The thing that changed it was financial pressure from companies, and I think that will continue. That will continue, and that's what's going to change it. And I think because of that, and also because Ron Rivera is also part of this, where he's like, I want this name changed, and I'm going to say they're going to want to keep their coach. I disagree with you, Brady. I disagree with you.
Personally, I'll believe it when I see it. Companies care more about lining their pocketbooks than they do the genuine opinions of people.
Well, and that's what I'll say is it's not, and the reason that FedEx and these other groups said that they were doing it is because investment bankers and other investors in those companies said you need to change it. So you need to withdraw your support of the Redskins. So what I'm saying is that this started from outside pressure from investment groups and people. This wasn't just like, oh, look, Black Lives Matter is a thing. We need to change stuff. It was investment groups that needed to change.
And I'm not arguing with that. What I'm saying is that Dan Snyder is going to do everything in his power in a very similar way to, like, let's say Fox News does, to wait until some of the heat dies down and then to just revisit these investor groups and go, okay, now that nobody gives a fuck, all right, can I reintegrate the name? And here's how I'm going to do it, because I'm going to get fucking this jag off to say it's okay. I'm going to get all of these players to sign off on saying it's okay. I'm going to get this many fans who say that it's okay. That kind of stuff. You ask any Redskins fan, and they love the name Redskins. So if he's going to sit there and just be talking to Redskins fans,
which he's,
and Redskins players and Redskins executives, then what do you think the consensus pick for the name is going to be?
But Brady,
I understand what you're saying, Skyler, and I truly hope that he does change the name. But for me, it's I'll believe it when I see it, because I don't trust the fucking prickhead that is Dan Snyder.
What about you, Mitch? What do you think?
I agree with where you guys are coming from. My only question is he going to survive to that point where he can pull off this master plan? That's the only question I have.
This dude can fucking throw anything.
You don't think Goodell's going to kick him out?
No, there's no talks of Goodell kicking him out or forcing him to sell the team anytime soon.
I don't even think the NFL commissioner can actually do that. I think he'd have to.
He can.
Can he?
He can. Yep, Goodell can do it.
I imagine the legal battles that would occur from that would be far more immense than just hoping that Dan Snyder does the right thing.
Yeah, I also think that the legal battles themselves could maybe get to a point where there's so much legal pressure, like just financially from different payouts and different things that could possibly happen, where I feel like that's more likely that he has to sell the team because he's going to have to be paying a shit ton of money to all of these women that he knew got sexually assaulted and did nothing, or he sexually assaulted himself. That's more likely than Goodell telling him to force the team.
Yeah.
Forcing him to sell the team.
And that I would agree with too. I mean, it's something like the NFL spent, I want to say it was like over $200 million in legal fees just to fucking suspend Tom Brady for 4 games. So now imagine the legal fees of somebody like Dan Snyder, who has a shit ton more money than Tom Brady or any of these lawyers would, fighting the NFL on something like this. I don't know if it's something the NFL would really want to dip their feet into, even if legally the contract says, like, when you buy a franchise, the fucking commissioner can do X, Y, and Z thing to you. They would still take that shit to court within a heartbeat.
There needs to be like outside pressure from investment groups and wanting to.
I don't know. It seems like Adam Silver was able to kick out Donald Sterling pretty easily and smoothly.
But the NBA, but we've also shown that the NBA as an organization is more, actually does the right thing 99.9%.
Yeah, and a lot of it also came from the Clippers players themselves. I haven't seen many Redskins players current Redskins players speaking out on the crimes of Dan Snyder. I know that a few guys previously had. And also another shout out to a team who also actually did the exact same thing.
The Jets.
No, the Canadian football team, the Edmonton Eskimos, changed their name this season to the Edmonton
Oh.
football team because the term Eskimo, for people who don't, is actually a derogatory slur to the Inuit people. And if you ever want a history lesson, just look at what the Canadians did to them. It's as bad as what we did to actual Native
Well,
Americans.
and the Cleveland Indians are talking with native groups in order to change their name because they want to keep the insignia and things like that, and so they're looking at more partnering with Native American tribes within the area in order to change their name.
And don't get me wrong, you can have tribes that give you permission to use a name or something like that. I mean, Florida State is a great example. The Seminoles,
Illinois.
and I don't know the validity of this now, but Florida State, when they initially wanted the name, had an agreement with the Seminole tribe that said they give them X amount of scholarships per year to people within the Seminole Nation to utilize the name. So there was a trade-off there, but yeah, I mean, the Cleveland Indians with fucking Chief Wahoo that they had was absolutely fucking ridiculous. And then the what was it, First Take guy who walked around with the Cleveland Caucasian shirt that had the same logo as Chief Wahoo, but he was a white guy and he got thdeath threats for it.
Yeah, that
was
wasn't
hilarious.
if that wasn't a First Take guy. That was it was Washington Caucasians, and it was Caesar.
No, it wasn't. No, because it was the Cleveland Caucasians because it said Cleveland and then it had Caucasians under it. And it was the Chief Wahoo guy, but instead of being, brown colored, he was fucking white.
Well, there was another guy that walked around with
Fucking
Washington Caucasians, and it was Roman, Caesar, which is really funny because he probably wasn't white either. And I'll get shit for that, but
I want to figure out
he wasn't white.
who the fuck it was. But yeah, this was basically the logo. I know you guys probably can't see it or whatever, but
Hit it, click it, because it'll focus.
No, well, because it's just on my fucking.
Turn the brightness down.
I'm gonna turn the brightness down too.
You see it now?
Yeah.
It's this.
Yeah.
It was the same Chief Wahoo logo, but just a white guy instead of a. Yeah, I know what shirt you're talking about, Skyler. You're talking about the. Yeah, I know what shirt you're talking about.
Yeah, he got a ton of shit for it too.
So yeah, Edmonton is also changing their name to the Edmonton football team for this season. We'll see how it works out. Mitch, you wanted to talk about a certain man who has an affinity for pigeons, who's now getting back into the boxing ring. Am I correct?
Yeah, Iron Mike Tyson is giving up his clue-solving days and is now going back into the ring against Roy. Do you get the reference, Skyler?
I'm just not going to acknowledge it.
Hopefully his crime-solving team will support him. But anyways, Iron Mike Tyson is getting back in the ring. I think on September 16th, 14th, something like that. He'll be fighting Roy Jones Jr. If you don't know, he's a really great boxer, and he's also a pretty good rapper. But I think you guys are more interested about the fight that will precede that.
The undercard fight, Nate Robinson versus Jake Paul. 5-4, Nate Robinson against the douchebag that is Jake Paul.
Was it Jake Paul who wandered into the suicide forest, or was that Logan Paul?
That was Logan.
Was that Logan?
Yeah, because Logan Paul's career is basically dead. Jake Paul's still doing okay.
I don't know, man. But I mean, I think that's super.
Oh
funny.
wait, I was totally wrong.
First off,
Nate Robinson's taller than I am, so.
Nate Robinson is 40 years old. Jake Paul is I think maybe 25 or something.
Yeah.
I think it's just hilarious. I got all my money on Nate Robinson. I want him to win so bad, just because I hate that smug, arrogant look that's on Jake Paul.
I hate the Paul brothers.
I really do. All right. Let's do our what's list. So, Mitch, you had the honor. You picked it. Yeah, you had the honor of picking the topic. So, what's the topic? And then Skyler goes first, I think.
Yep, Skyler will go first.
All right.
All right.
What's
So,
the topic?
our topic today for our what's list was top 10 athletes that we miss watching. So it could be any sport that is pro or college, and the caveat is they'd have to be retired or dead. And then when it comes to college, they would have to be their eligibility is up and they're not currently playing in college. So Skylar, take it away.
Okay, I have no particular order because these were just like childhood favorites of mine that I love to watch. So I have Big Papi, David Ortiz,
Okay.
designated hitter for Red Sox. He was part of so many good Red Sox teams. He was like the only constant for the Red Sox because, like I said before, we just get rid of all of our good players and then
Didn't he get
restarts.
shot?
He
Yeah.
did. He's alive, but he got shot because he was mistaken for somebody else, which is really funny because he was in the Dominican Republic where he's from, and like one
He's
of
like
the
God down there.
he's like God down there, and he got shot because he was mistaken for someone else.
Huh.
But he's good. Big Papi's okay. But I just loved watching him. He was just great. I
R.I.P.
loved seeing him hit home runs and just the kind of personality he had, especially after the Boston Marathon bombing when he came out and the words he said after that was just it was really nice to watch. Kevin Garnett, both as a T-Wolf and as a Celtic and really anything else, he was just a great player to watch. He was just dynamic. I remember watching when the Big Three started. I loved watching Kevin Garnett because I mean I hadn't seen anybody on the Celtics play like that before. He was just great defensively, offensively. I loved it. Randy Moss / Calvin Johnson, like there, because both of those players were just dynamic wide receivers that could literally take over a game just for who they were. And I mean that '07 Patriots was just amazing to watch. The records that they broke, the things that they did. I mean, while people can moss other players now, it's just nobody does it like him. And then just a Nebraska shout out, Jordan Westerkamp. He was just amazing to watch catch balls in general. Like he had his first big one was the Hail Mary against Northwestern. He caught the one behind his back against FAU. He was a circus. He could catch anything. Like, he's not playing right now because nobody wants him apparently. But I mean, it didn't matter who was throwing to him. He was an area person where it's like if you threw near him, he would catch it. That and the mustache he had, it was just legendary. But no, those are just some childhood favorites that I miss that aren't playing anymore.
Wait, how many were we supposed to do?
I picked 10, but if it's
10?
less than that,
Shit.
if it's less
you're
than that,
good.
that's fine.
We're fine. We're fine with 5. You don't have to make more up. I freaked out. Okay. I did mine in an order. So number 10. So wait, before I do this, so like I took this as players that I personally watched, not watched like highlights of afterwards. Like guys I personally watched.
Yeah.
Number 10 for me.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Okay, cool. Number 10 for me was actually Matt Forte.
Oh yeah.
I hate Matt Forte, but he was so good against the Packers. He was a great halfback for Chicago. I thought his running style was both this amazing mix of power and fluid, and I love watching him play any team that's not the Packers. Number 9 is Prince Fielder. Some of my earliest memories are going to Brewer games and watching Prince Fielder, the voluptuous vegetarian that he was, just knock homers was gorgeous, and I miss watching him play for the Brewers. Number 8, I actually have another Bears player, Charles Tillman. Charles Tillman showed you how to play corner. He wasn't an exceptionally great corner in terms of coverage, but the peanut punch that he had, man, was astonishing. He was such a good player and genuinely a good human being as well. Number 7, Peyton Manning. I miss watching Peyton Manning play football. His last season was absolute dog crap, but he won a championship, so who gives a crap? The way he played the quarterback position was just it was gold. It was great. Number 6, I have Dwayne Wade. I remember watching Dwayne Wade as a very young kid when he was at Marquette. I remember watching him through his years at Miami. The first NBA Finals I remember watching was him winning with Shaq against the Mavs in 2006, I think. So Dwayne Wade on there. Number 5, Brett Favre. It's a Packer thing. I miss Brett Favre. I hated watching him play because he'd throw 3 touchdowns, but damn if he wouldn't throw 3 interceptions also. Frustrating, but I miss him. Number 4, actually, I do have Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson he was a wrecking machine. It didn't matter who covered him. He was great. And I genuinely am remorseful at the fact that we missed so much of his career by him retiring, and that so much of his career was ruined because of who he played for. Number 3, Monty Ball. Monty Ball started that list of just really solid Wisconsin halfbacks who have had good NFL careers, or at least have had an okay NFL career. Monty Ball obviously didn't, but then James White right after him, Melvin Gordon right after him, Corey Clement right after him, and now we're looking forward to Jonathan Taylor. Monty Ball was great, tying Barry Sanders' record, should have won a Heisman, so on and so forth. Monty Ball was something fantastic. Number 2, I have Amon Green.
Oh yeah.
Amon Green, so me being from Nebraska and then moving to Wisconsin, very similar to the story of Amon Green. So he was always my mom's favorite Packer player. We look alike, in case you couldn't tell. I wore number 30 my first couple of years playing football because of Amon Green. Like, he was just one of my favorite players of all time. And then number 1 on my list is Donald Driver.
That's a good one.
Donald Driver was a genuinely good human being. If you don't know his story is beautiful and it's heartbreaking. Him and his brother were destitute, selling drugs out of the back of a U-Haul before they got adopted. He went to Alcorn State. He was a 7th-round pick. He worked his ass off and ended up having a great career, won a Super Bowl with the Packers, played with both Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, owns a bunch of records, is a good human being, is a good father. I actually own all of his quickie books that are signed, the children's books that he wrote. He's a great humanitarian. He loves both, Wisconsin and its affected areas, as well as where he's from in Texas. I miss watching him play, man. He was something absolutely special. So that's my list for guys that athletes I miss watching play.
All right, so for my list, I did have a rank this week. So in number 10, I have Joey Julius. And if you guys don't remember who he was the kicker for Penn State who loved to truck people and get into fights.
Big fatty fatso?
Yep.
Yeah.
I miss watching him play.
He was great.
It's really sad that he pretty much got like bullied out of it, but I love watching him.
For calling him that.
But yeah, I miss watching him like kick it and then get into some pretty cool fights and truck people. So I miss that. And number 9, I have Monty Ball. Like Brady said, he basically ushered in the new era for running backs at Wisconsin, because we haven't really had seen that since Ron Dang. Number 8, Donald Driver. He's the epitome of what it means to be a Packer, and I think a human being in general. The dude's flawless. I mean, I can't say – I could go on and on all night just about how great he is. Number 7, I have Bronson Koenig, one of the most like clutch players in Wisconsin basketball, to me at least. I love watching his old highlights of him like doing dagger threes and stuff, especially the one against Xavier. I miss that on the team right now.
And then Bill Murray's face when Bill Murray's kid was coaching for Xavier, and Koenig nails it in the corner, and then it immediately pans to Bill Murray, and he's just – it's so funny. I'm sorry, Mitch. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're totally fine. Love it. Number 6, I have Charles Woodson. I mean, one of the best, secondary players all time, in my opinion. I miss having that kind of player in the backfield. Number 5, John Kuhn, the person who made me love the fullback position, and I really miss saying his name on Sundays. It was one of the highlights watching Packers growing up. Number 4, BJ Raji. I mean, how can you not love that guy? I mean, he got a pick 6 in the NFC Championship game and had a hilarious dance. I miss him on the defensive line.
The freezer.
The freezer. Number 3, I have Prince Fielder. He was my favorite Brewer growing up. I remember going to games and just yelling his name and me sounding like I was at a Prince concert or something like that. Number 2, I have Joe Thomas. One of the best offensive linemen all time, college, and unfortunately he went to the Browns and wasn't able to achieve much when it comes to rings and stuff. But I think he's definitely top 5 offensive lineman all time, and he's the first offensive lineman ever apparently. And number 1, I got to give it to Jordy Nelson, man. I really miss that Aaron Rodgers Jordy Nelson connection. All those clutch catches that he made, and him as a person. I really wish that he was still playing for us, honestly.
I think there's names on that list that I genuinely just forgot to put on because there's so many people you could have put on this. But what was it? It was Pro Football Focus said 2011 Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb were the best wide receiver duo of the decade. Like, it was
Yeah.
dominant. And Jordy Nelson, this fucking skinny white kid from Kansas, didn't look like he could play wide receiver in the NFL, and he had a fantastic career. And
Well, that whole wide receiving core, you could argue.
You could, yeah. I mean, Randall Cobb
Nelson,
was
Cobb, Jennings, James Jones.
Oh, well, James Jones also. I mean, he came from like San Jose State or some shit like that.
San Jose State.
Green Bay didn't have like a first round pick in their wide receiver core there. So no, that's cool. This was
Cobb.
I did think of some.
Cobb was a second round.
No, Cobb was the first round, I believe.
No, because I don't think we've spent on a skill position since.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's a second rounder then.
Yeah, but Nelson was a second rounder. Driver was a seventh rounder. I think Greg Jennings was a seventh rounder.
No, he was like a fifth.
Was he?
Yeah, he's like a fourth, fifth, something like that.
It was cool, man. This was just like a walk in nostalgia.
I did think of some other ones.
Okay,
if you want to say them, go for it.
Danny Woodhead, just the short little guy.
Oh yeah.
That would run behind those. I loved watching him. Chris Johnson for the Titans.
CJ2K.
CJ2K.
EJ2K. He was
the grill.
I mean, he was amazing to watch run. I think it's not.
Isn't he in jail now?
He might.
I want to say he's in jail for like attempted murder. Sorry, go ahead, Skyler. I'm just let me look that up.
Wes Welker. I absolutely loved watching him play. I loved watching him play because he was a short little wide receiver from the Midwest that like I was a short little guy that played wide receiver, so I loved watching Wes Welker play. Kenny Bell, Afro Thunder, wide receiver for Nebraska with a huge throw that the devastating block he put, even though we lost that game, got destroyed in that championship game. That block was almost worth it, where he totally blindsided one of the Wisconsin guys. He got a flag on him. I don't think he deserved the flag because it wasn't a block in the back, because it was definitely his side of his face. That was amazing. And then on the wide receiver for the Texans, it's Andre something.
Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson. That's what I put. I didn't think that's what his name was. I did it, but Andre Johnson was also, again, one of those big wide receivers that his career was cut way too short. I thought he should have been playing for a lot longer. Yeah. But no, those were just some words like what you guys were talking. It was like, Danny Woodhead. How did I forget Danny Woodhead?
Yeah, and then speaking of the Houston, an honorable mention I had was Arian Foster.
Yeah.
That guy does not get enough credit. He's not getting enough credit.
No, he doesn't. Arian Foster does not get nearly
undrafted from Tennessee, led the league in rushing, man. Great.
And that touchdown dance.
So great. But yeah, CJ2K accused for murder for hire for two people in Orlando in like 2016.
Oh shit!
Like he was being a hitman.
He paid two people. They believe
he paid a person to kill two people.
I thought he was the hitman.
No. But I guess he was almost killed like the year before, and then supposedly the case is like he paid some guys after they shot the guys who shot him. So who knows? But whatever. We're getting off track. So Skyler, you picked the next topic. So what's our next What's List topic? This was fun.
This was a really
no problem.
One. I love this one.
I thought it'd be a good one. That's why it's top 10.
The next one is who's going to pull the next Chiefs. So I did who's going to pull the next Niners, who's going to pull the next Chiefs, going to win a championship after a certain amount of, I think we said 20 plus years of not winning.
That's what you said.
Not winning one. So who has the best chances of doing that? We'll do top 3 because I think that we can get a little bit more depth in it. But I'm thinking like the Cleveland Browns. I'm thinking or teams that like the Red Sox and the Cubs that it took almost 100 years for them to win a championship. Or who's going to win their first championship, like Houston Texans. They haven't won one since they've been in the league. So yeah, if they've been added to a league in the last 20 years, you can put them. If not, that's good.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So let's hop into the team of the day. The New England Patriots. The New England Patriots in 2019 went 12-4. They were the 3 seed. They were 5-1 in division. They lost in the wild card to Tennessee in a 13-20 game. Their leading rusher, some guys who were just returning from next season: Sony Michel, 912 yards, 7 touchdowns. Julian Edelman, 100 receptions, 1,117 yards, 6 touchdowns. James White, 263 rushing yards, 72 receptions, 645 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. We're going to do it a little different. Typically, we'll rank the team like in or in need of a rebuild, in or in need of a reload. We do that beforehand. I just realized how fucking stupid that is. So we're going to do that after we go through their losses, their pickups, and their draft. And then as we look at this team as a whole heading into the next season, will rank them as in or in need of a rebuild. 8.
Oh, okay.
Because that, to me, just makes way more sense.
It does.
Yes, that's fine.
I was gonna
Alright.
say something, but I never did.
You're fine. I was just listening to an episode and realized that. So let's go over their free agent losses, which were immense. Obviously, number one, Tom Brady, QB, who's been there for the last fucking, what was it, 20 seasons?
years.
Ever.
Yeah, he was drafted in '99, so 20
Yeah,
years.
20 seasons. Leaving,
His
he
whole
goes
century.
to Tampa Bay. Kyle Van Noy, they lost their outside linebacker to Miami. Deron Harmon, their safety, one of their safeties to Detroit. Jamie Collins, their offensive linebacker to Detroit. Danny Shelton, their defensive tackle to Detroit. And the other notable one, Ted Karras, their center, went to Miami. And then their pickups, which we'll go over here. Cam Newton, quarterback from Carolina. Marquise Lee, wide receiver from Jacksonville. Demir Bird, wide receiver from Arizona. Dan Vitale, fullback from Green Bay. And former Wisconsin Badger Bo Allen, defensive tackle from Tampa Bay. So how do you guys grade, whatever fucking word I'm looking for, their offseason losses, gains, so on and so forth?
I'm going to give it a solid C. I think there was a lot of losses, but they had a lot of gains, so it kind of canceled each other out to be like a normal kind of mediocre kind of season. So I'll go over losses first. I think only 4 people really stand out in my mind that could really hurt the team. Obviously, Tom Brady is going to hurt just because of, his mental, game that made him so dangerous and how he knew that playbook inside of out. I think that's going to hurt the team a little bit offensively. I think Kyle Van Noy and Landon Roberts, I think you could see a drop-off in linebacker play because right now it's really just Dante Hightower, and I think those 2 players were really underrated for what they did for that defense overall. And then Steven Koskowski is no longer the kicker there, so I can't even –
Steven Gostowski.
Yeah, I can't even name you who the kicker is now, so that could hurt their special teams, and it hurts the
Losser.
yeah, and it hurts that the Joe Judge, their special teams coordinator, isn't even there anymore. So that's for losses. Cam Newton, I think, was a good pickup for them. A lot of people I know were scratching their head at like how this is going to fit and stuff, but I think Bill Belichick has proven that he can be versatile enough that he can take a quarterback like Cam Newton and make him look amazing. I think it could actually help the offense just because of the added mobility that Cam Newton brings to a team. Because let's face it, Tom Brady was not the most mobile quarterback.
Hey, he has 1,000 career rushing yards.
Yeah, and it only took him a century to do it. And then I think that Marquise Lee could be a really underrated pickup for the wide receiver core. He did some really nice things in Jacksonville, but just was due to injury and just overshadowed a little bit. So I'm hoping he can emerge as one of the top wide receivers for your team, Skyler. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for gains.
Yeah, I have to you can't lose Tom Brady and get an offseason grade of a B. So I have to give it a C plus because Tom Brady just in and of itself, he's been there for 20 years. He knows the playbook inside and out. He was the leader of the team, unquestionably. In my opinion, best quarterback that's ever played the game. You can't do that and not get a. I have to go C plus. That's the highest grade possible I can give while losing Tom Brady. I agree that Kyle Van Noy is probably going to be a little bit of a loss. He was a good player. He was a good rusher. He did really good things. Jamie Collins, I also put in that mix because he had a resurgent season with New England. And I thought he did really well. Definitely just maybe not deserved the level of contract he got at Detroit, but he deserved the contract. He deserved money for what he did in New England. So yeah, those are the 3 that I think could hurt New England the most. But then I agree. I love the Marquise Lee. I love getting him. I like that we're doing what the Patriots do. We take almost forgotten players from other teams and we turn them into players that do really well. Kyle Van Noy was one of them. We got him from Detroit and turned him into what he needed to be. And then Cam Newton. I mean, I'll talk about him more throughout the rest of the episode. I was one of the people that didn't really see how it could fit, but I like what he's been doing so far with the team. He's been going around to every wide receiver and just working out with them. He did it with Julian Edelman. He did it with Harry. He did it with Marquise Lee and Mario Bird. He worked with them, and so I like the fact that he's taking a step. He's already embracing some of that, just working with his wide receivers, trying to get a good offseason started before he even gets into Foxborough. The other one I look at is Adrian Phillips, safety we got from the Chargers. In his only season that he played in 16 games, he went all pro. And that wasn't because he wasn't good. He was injured or wasn't good before those seasons. It was just that Chargers have a really good defensive backcourt. And he's coming in after kind of an off season this last season. He's coming into New England. I think he adds depth. I think he's better than Deron Harmon. So I really liked him too. He was kind of just under the radar. He still played like 30% of the snaps for the Chargers this last year. So I think he can add something to us too. So I have to give it a C+ because again, you can't lose Tom Brady and get a grade of a B. So.
Do you think he'll fill that Deron Harmon role, Adrian Phillips?
No, because I think that our safeties are still pretty good. I mean, when you have like Deron Harmon was a good safety, but when you have Patrick Chung and one of the twins,
The McCourties.
McCourty?
Yeah, McCourty's. I can't remember which one.
Devin.
Devin McCourty plays safety too. He should be. Our safety position should be fine. I mean, we addressed it in the draft too. So, I think that Adrian Phillips could almost fill that slot, but I think it's going to be more of a committee kind of thing where we have other young defensive backs that could fill that spot too.
Okay.
I think he'll end up being the nickel.
Probably.
I do like Adrian Phillips a lot. I actually give their offseason as a whole a B-, and the reason is that when I first looked at it, like the things that stood out in my head were Tom Brady, Kyle Van Noy, like Gronk, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, where's this team? And then I thought about it a little bit. Obviously, New England kind of also won the Gronk trade. Like they took a guy who wasn't even playing,
was retired,
and they turned him into a 4th-round pick. So I'll take it. If you actually look at it statistically, both Kyle Van Noy and Tom Brady had their worst seasons in a while last year.
They did. They both did.
Tom Brady, 4,057 yards in terms of seasons in which he's played a full 16 games. That was his fewest yards since 2006. 24 touchdowns last year in which he's played a full 16 games. That was his fewest touchdowns since 2003.
Yeah.
Completion percentage of 60.8% last year. He was at 65.8 the year before. Last season, he threw 33 more passes than he did the year before, and yet had 2 fewer completions. His 60.8% completion rating or percentage was the lowest he's had since, wait for it, 2004. So Tom Brady, everybody, like, you can say it's because his weapons weren't as good, and I don't necessarily, I understand part of it, but Tom Brady was coming off of his worst season as a quarterback in a very, very long time. And it's not like we hadn't seen that he's been able to do it. I mean, he threw 29 touchdowns the year before that, 32 the year before that, 28 on the season in which he only played 12 games. So since he was coming off his worst year, and you could just tell as the season went on that his arm strength wasn't as good. He was getting more and more frustrated. And I think that I truly believe that this was the time for New England to let Tom Brady walk.
Yeah.
And Kyle Van Noy actually is in a very similar situation. Last year, 56 tackles. That was the lowest he's had since 2016.
Yeah.
He was coming off a year in which he had 92 tackles. Now, he had the most sacks, 6.5 of his entire career. But 56 tackles in 15 games. He only played 1 fewer game than the season beforehand. Kyle Van Noy even looked like he wasn't necessarily all there. Now, he did miss a game for the birth of his child. I'm not going to fault him for that.
Oh, yeah, no, it was the first game.
But, yeah, 1 game doesn't make up for a drop of nearly 40 tackles in an entire season.
True.
So Kyle Van Noy wasn't worth the money that he was asking for. Jamie Collins coming off of a fantastic year, that one's going to hurt. Absolutely. Danny Shelton and Ted Karras take or leave. Ted Karras, he had 15 starts, but he was ranked 18th out of 32nd in terms of centers by Pro Football Focus. And then with their pickups, I really like their pickups. I love Adrian Phillips. I think Adrian Phillips is a fantastic football player, and I hope that he finally gets an actual shot out there in New England. As Skyler stated, the one season in which he played 16 games. He only had 7 starts, but he played 16 games. He had 94 total tackles, 9 passes defensed, and an interception, as well as a forced fumble, which were all career highs for him. Last year, he only played in 7 games, unfortunately, due to injuries. So he didn't get really as much of chance there. If you're getting good Cam Newton, if you're getting solid Cam Newton, he's as good as what production you would have gotten out of Tom Brady in terms of like 24 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, give or take. His completion percentage is obviously dog shit, but that is what it is. Marquise Lee, he never shined in Jacksonville the way that I think a lot of people expected him to, but he is a good wide receiver. He's good enough to get you about 700 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Damiere Byrd, take your leave. Dan Vitale, take your leave. Bo Allen, take your leave. I give it a B+ because this felt like the right time to let a lot of those guys like Tom Brady and Kyle Van Noy and Jerron Harmon leave. And I think New England actually did a pretty good job of addressing that in terms of other weapons they brought in as well as in their draft that we'll get to here in a moment.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that the reason I gave it a C+ is even though it was the right time for like Tom Brady and Kyle Van Noy to leave, those are still the veteran presence of those two players.
Yeah,
is lost, especially a player that's been a part of your organization for 20+ years, for almost 20 years. That's why it's kind of like, okay.
And I guess my counter to that is like, if there's one organization where it truly doesn't fucking matter,
it's New England.
Who's in the locker room, like it's fucking New England.
It's true.
So
it's true.
I kind of, it's a take or leave type situation.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. But no.
Yeah, let's hop into their draft here. So New England had 10 picks in their draft. They moved out of the first round to allow the Chargers to come up. They got a plethora of picks from the Chargers as part of that. They had 10 overall picks. We're going to go just right down the list here, and then we're going to have the boys tell me who stands out for them. Their first pick, 37th overall, second round, Kyle Duggar, safety out of Lenore-Ryan University. 60th pick, second round, they went Josh Uche, edge rusher from Michigan. They had 3 third-round picks. At number 87, they went Anthony Jennings, edge rusher out of Alabama. At 91, they went Devin Asiasi, tight end out of UCLA. And at 101, they went Dalton Keene, tight end out of Virginia Tech. They had 2 fifth-round picks. At 159, they went John Rohrwasser, kicker from Marshall. And at 182, they went Michael Onwenu, guard from Michigan. And 2 sixth-round picks as well. 195, they went Justin Heron, offensive tackle from Wake Forest, and Cash Maluya, linebacker from Wyoming. And in the 7th round at pick 230, they went with Dustin Woodard, center out of Memphis. How do you guys grade the New England draft?
I think of it as C-. I really only like the first 3 picks. Kyle Duggar, I think I think he's going to do really well in this defense. I think that, once McCourty and Chung finally decided to hang it up, he'll take their jobs, and I think he could be a plug-and-play replacement. Josh Uche, I think he could help with this pass rush because it's lacking a little bit, so I think he could definitely help. And then Anthony Jennings, I think he could also help the linebacking core and the pass rush as well. The rest of the players are kind of take or leave for me, and fuck taking that Marshall kicker. So that's why it's a C-.
Okay, that's fair.
I actually give this draft a B. And this could be definitely homer bias. Definitely. I mean, it honestly could be. But I agree. I like Kyle Duggar and Josh Uche. I think that they're both really good young defensive players that will be very versatile in what they can do. Anthony Jennings is a stereotypical Bill Belichick linebacker, very versatile, went to Alabama, things like that. Just kind of does what he can. He has work to do, but he can do good things. I think they'll probably work on special teams for a little bit. That and the linebacker from Wyoming that we drafted will probably work more special teams than any starter positioning at the beginning of a season. Devin Asiasi, I think he can do good things. I think that he has the potential to do good things. But unless that tight end is named Rob Gronkowski, I have to wait to see it. This is a wait-and-see player for me. I think he can. He worked in the kind of system where you're expecting the tight end to catch and run with it a little bit more in UCLA. But we'll see. And then I really actually like the 2 offensive line players we picked up in the 6th round. It's very New England-like to pick up offensive linemen in the later rounds on day 3. And the thing that they usually look for is both of these players they're quick on their feet, they're able to move, they're versatile, they're just not the right size yet. And they can work on size and power. Those are things that you can develop and you can give to a player. Whereas quick feet, speed, things like that, being able to move up to the second level is a lot harder to teach offensive line. So that's why I like that. Again, it's not the best draft that New England's had, but again, we usually don't know that New England's had a good draft until like a year or two down the road when these players start doing really well. So that's why I have to give it a B.
Yeah, or they spend a second round pick on Jimmy Garoppolo. So who knows?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I give the grade a C plus. I do like the first couple of picks. Kyle Duggar, I love. I'm more interested to see the competition from Lenore Ryan to the NFL is a pretty large gap. But he's going to have the bonus of playing with one of the best defensive minds football's ever seen in Bill Belichick. Josh Uche, Anthony Jennings, love it. Love the pick. I feel like if this pass rush for New England can get young and can get studly the way that I think that they can, you put Dante Hightower. Chase Winovich had a great season for being a 7th-round pick.
He wasn't a 7th round.
Yes, he was.
Winovich? No, he was a 3rd-round pick.
Was he?
Well,
Yeah.
There's no way.
Chase Winovich went 77 overall in 3rd round. Yep.
Did he really?
Yep.
You're the Patriots fan, so you should know.
I
Yeah, he
should.
was third round.
I'll defer to you.
Whatever. Still, 3rd-round pick. Production was fantastic. And you know, you're adding Josh Uche, who's obviously familiar with what Winovich did at Michigan. Anthony Jennings, 83 tackles, 8.5 sacks. He was absolutely dominant. I actually like the Devin CIC pick. It's good to see at least some decent tight end that's going to show up in New England. He had 44 catches, 641 yards, 4 touchdowns as a tight end at UCLA with an offense that was truly anemic out there. He was a slow riser in terms of draft boards, and I think New England got him perfectly in that 3rd round. The Keene pick, I don't really care too much about. The Rohrwasser pick, I don't understand why you spend a 5th-round pick on a kicker. I don't understand why you spend any round pick on a kicker, frankly.
They did it with Gostowski and it worked out for him.
Yeah, I guess, but I really don't understand instead of just signing him as a preferred free agent, but whatever. And then 3 of the last 4 picks were offensive linemen, which I'm not going to fault for. I love when you take depth in the offensive line. It was my same rationale for Green Bay spending 3 6th-round picks on offensive linemen. I think it does nothing but add depth, and if one of those 3 guys turns out to be a consistent starter, hey, that's good. Hey, we talked about they lost Ted Karras, their center. Now they're replacing him with Onwenu and Woodard, who could both play center position if needed. And then Justin Hernan, 6'5", 305 pounds at Wake Forest. He can move to tackle easily. So I give it a C+. I think there's a lot of room for growth. I don't think these guys are going to be immediately good or even good in 1 or 2 seasons, but I think they have the possibility to really help shape this Patriots team for a long time.
Well, and like Ted Karras was like a 6th-round pick too. So like,
Yeah.
The last time New England used first or second day draft pick to draft an offensive lineman was Nate Solder in 2001. So like, other than that, like Shaq Mason, I'm trying to think, like Shaq Mason, Cameron Fleming, Ted Karras, Antonio Garcia. Isaiah Wynn. They drafted him in 2018. I'm mistaken. But yeah, in the last 10
that's
years,
fine. Fucking Sebastian Vollmer was a dude from fucking NFL Europe, and he was a starter on that offensive line forever. So
Yeah, no. So I know I have faith in Bill Belichick and the Patriots organization to turn these players into good players, because it's very rarely that a rookie starts shining on New England, except for Sony Michel, which he did 2 years ago. And I mean, he had kind of an off year, but I mean, the entire New England offense had an off year last year. So I don't really blame him. So yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. It's a good draft. We'll see what we do.
Yeah. All right, so let's move into their schedule.
Wait, hold up.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Can we pause real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you everybody for the quick pause. Mitch had nature's calling. So before we get into their schedule here, let's rank the team. So where do we put the New England Patriots? In or in need of a rebuild? In or in need of a reload? 8-8 playoff tier or Super Bowl caliber team?
I think they are definitely playoff tier. But beyond that, I can't say how well they'll do in the playoffs. I think the defense will still be a strength for them, so that's going to get them to the playoffs. They still have Bill Belichick as their head coach. It just all comes down to that offense, because it depends on what Cam Newton you're getting. Obviously, if you're getting that MVP Cam Newton, you could definitely win a Super Bowl. But if you're getting the mediocre Cam Newton and the rest of the offense kind of flounders, then I think it could be a first-round bye, meaning that they're going to lose the first game they play in the playoffs. So I really can't tell how far they'll go, but I know they'll at least make the playoffs.
See, I look at this team reminds me super much of reminds me a lot super much. Wow, God damn. I can't talk.
Me Patriot fan, me do
Me
word
Patriot
good.
fan, I know good words, yes. It reminds me a lot of the early 2000s Patriots, where it was like we didn't know what Tom Brady could do. We knew that he could. We knew Drew Bledsoe was hurt. We knew Tom Brady could come in and win and not turn the ball over. So, but we had a great defense and we had a good running game to complement that. And I think that that's what this Patriot team is going to turn into. We still have a pretty solid offensive line. Sony Michel has shown that he can be a good running back. If not, James White can fill some of those roles too. Rex Burkhead, whoever. We have a plethora of running backs. We don't know what really is going to look at the quarterback position. So I think that this is a playoff caliber team because of Bill Belichick's going back to what won him games early in his career as the Patriots head coach. I do think that they're also weirdly in a reload on their offensive side. I feel like they know that they need to get new weapons, get new players, probably looking at a new quarterback here soon too, if Cam Newton doesn't pay off. But no, I think they're a playoff caliber team.
Yeah, I think they're a playoff caliber team just for a few things. A, by association, by having Bill Belichick there. I think you're
and being in the AFC East.
Exactly, and that goes into the second thing. Is that the AFC is really, it's Baltimore, it's Kansas City, and the rest of it is absolutely up for grabs. And so it means that any team who maybe you would think is a playoff lock, like we'll say Buffalo, or we'll say Tennessee, or we'll say Pittsburgh,
Cleveland,
or anybody like that, yeah, they can have a bad season. And I think that the Patriots are going to float right in that 4 to maybe in a bad season 5 seed, where that's just where they're going to be. And I think if you get a fully healthy Cam Newton, this team is good enough to do that. Cam Newton showed an ability to at least keep his team competitive in terms of playoff positioning. Not always getting there, not always having great success, but at least keeping them competitive. And I think ultimately his competitive spirit is what fully attracted New England, because love him or hate him as a player, he's competitive as all hell, and he'll do.
He's going to do his best to win.
Yeah. So, and I think that's just what Bill Belichick likes. But an interesting thing I stumbled across: when Cam Newton starts Week 1 against Miami, it will be the first time that a Patriots quarterback has started for the team who was not drafted by the team since 1993.
Yep.
Damn near 30 fucking seasons. And it was
because after 93, it was Drew Bledsoe.
Yep.
Yeah, because after it was Drew Bledsoe and then Tom Brady. So
there was actually one guy in the middle who helped, but I don't know what his name is. And then Tom Brady, but then even then, Matt Castle,
Jimmy Garoppolo,
Jacoby Brissett, they were all drafted by New England. So it's going to be the first time since 93 that that's happened. Assuming that Cam Newton does start Week 1. Who knows?
Well, even if he doesn't start Week 1, if he starts a game, he's the first quarterback not drafted by the Patriots to start a game since 93.
Since 93, yeah, exactly. Whatever game he ends up starting, which I think it'll be Week 1. So Week 1, they host the Miami Dolphins. We talked about this in the Miami episode. We talked about New England a few times, too many to count. So go back, listen to literally all the episodes. I'm sure the Patriots come up. Week 1 against Miami, I have them winning this game. I think Miami's taken absolutely great steps, but New England's going to be way too much. I don't know how Miami's going to prepare for Cam Newton, even assuming that it is him. But I think that New England is just too much for Miami. New England wins.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Patriots get a win right out of the gates. Miami is just a huge question mark right now, and going up against a Belichick team that, for the most part, has a foundation in place. You know, there's a couple weaknesses, but for the most part, they're a really solid team, and that's why the Patriots will win.
New England has 2 months to prepare for Miami. We got it.
Unless the game is in Miami.
Unless the game is in Miami.
Yeah. But no, it's a home game for New England, luckily enough.
So we should be fine.
Although you lost at home last season to Miami, but
but it's not late season. We're okay.
Yeah, that's true. Week 2 matchup, they then go to Seattle to play the Seahawks. I have them winning this game also. Seattle's offensive line to me has massive questions. I think this is where Dante Hightower is going to have an absolutely great game. Seattle's weapons is really just DK Metcalf, and like Doug Baldwin is good, but they don't have a tight end. Their halfback position is a little bit up in the air right now. Is it Carlos Hyde? Is it Chris Carson? Who is it that's going to be starting? And then that offensive line is an absolute liability. I think the Patriots defense is going to struggle a little bit with Russell Wilson, but ultimately they'll be able to shut down the offense as a whole. And I think that their offense is going to be good enough to pick up a few points against Seattle. So New England beats Seattle week 2.
Yeah, I think New England picks up their second win here. There's two matchups I think that are really key for the Patriots win. First is basically the Patriots secondary against the Seahawks wide receivers. I think that even though Metcalf looks pretty good and Lockett's coming into his own, I just don't think they're good enough to manhandle the Patriots secondary. So I think New England wins in that matchup, and then the Seattle basically having no pass rush. Cam Newton or whoever starts at quarterback is going to have a pretty clean pocket, so that's going to ensure their win. And I'm hoping this comes down to another goal line interception to win it.
See, I actually have Seattle winning this game, and it comes down to, honestly, that I don't have faith in New England's offense yet. I don't know what I'm going to be seeing from it. What kind of Cam Newton are we getting? If Jared Stidham's starting, how is he going to pressure or no pressure? How is he going to perform in these situations? Because, I mean, he did really well in the preseason games where we saw when he stepped into the field against the New York Jets team through a pick 6. So I don't know what to see from this offense. So if I'm going off of, if I'm picking New England's offense or Seattle's defense, I'm honestly going to give it to Seattle's defense, because Seattle's defense has shown time and time again that they can step up and win close games. So, sorry, New England. I have to give it to Seattle.
Cool. I'd also just like to preface my whole schedule with the understanding that Cam Newton is going to start all 16 games. I chose not to. I've seen some people who have done schedule predictions where they've been like, Cam Newton will get hurt week 7 against San Francisco. So then after that, they'll get. It's like, no, I'm not going to try to predict injuries. I'm going to go off of how they were with Cam Newton
Same.
at quarterback. So I'd like to just preface that with anybody who maybe thinks about some of these losses. Week 3 matchup, they then host the Las Vegas Raiders. I have them losing this game. Because I like some of the steps that the Raiders have taken. This also just feels like one of those odd early season losses that the Patriots suffer from every couple of years, where it's against a team that probably shouldn't beat them. So I'm gonna give my nod to the Raiders. I think the Raiders have made good growth. With some of the struggles that we think the Patriots are going to have on defense, I think Josh Jacobs is going to have his opportunity to step up. And I think on that defensive line with guys like Max Crosby and the inside linebackers that they got, Littleton and Kwiatkowski, they can do a little bit of damage. I'm going to give my hat to the Raiders on that one.
I think the Patriots are going to pick up their third straight win. I'm just really not that confident in the Raiders. I know they took some steps, but I don't think they're there yet to beat a team like the New England Patriots, and that's why I have the Patriots winning.
Yeah, for me, it goes down to, as it usually does, Patriots defense against whatever offense they're going up against. And I think that because this secondary is so good, it's going to be relying on – the Raiders are going to have to run the ball to win, and I don't know if they're able to do that right now. I mean, Josh Jacobs is a good tailback. The offensive line has kind of improved, but still isn't where it needs to be. And I think that the young defensive front seven, besides Dante Hightower, is going to step up and actually have a pretty good game. So I have to give it to New England.
All right, so then week 4 matchup, they then go to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. I have them losing this game, even with the defense that New England has. I think Pat Mahomes is just too much. Kansas City is returning pretty much all their players, and when it comes to at least the regular season, they've had New England's number. And then defensively, Kansas City doesn't have a great defense, but I think they've got a good enough defense to stifle whatever offense the Patriots are going to throw at them. I'm going to give my nod to Kansas City. Patriots lose their second straight game.
I think New England picks up their first loss right here. The only reason they're going to be in this game is because of their secondary and their stable of backs. But I just think that the Chiefs just offer way too much, and the Patriots can't cover all of it. So Chiefs win.
I honestly think the first team that kicks a field goal loses this game, and I think it's New England. Because I think that it's because with Patrick Mahomes and that high-octane offense, no matter what New England's defense does there, you can't just not put a touchdown on the board. So I have to give it to Kansas City.
Okay, cool. So then at the quarter point of the season, Me and Skyler both have New England at 2-2. Mitch, you have them at 3-1. Coming out of it, they then host the Denver Broncos. I have them beating the Broncos in kind of a similar way to Miami. I like the steps that the Broncos are taking. To me, the Broncos are in a much better position. Offensively, I think the weapons are there. Defensively, I think the pieces are there. But as a whole, I think that the Patriots defense is going to do enough to stifle Drew Lock, and that Cam Newton is going to have a little bit better of a showing this time against the Broncos than he did maybe in Super Bowl 50. I'm going to give my nod to New England, and they beat the Broncos in Week 5.
Yeah, I think New England picks up a win here. I just think that they have two huge advantages for why they're going to win. They have Cam Newton as a quarterback, and right now he's better than what Drew Lock is because we still don't know what Lock is. We have to go off of what he did last year, and Cam Newton's league is above that, so they win the quarterback position. And they have Bill Belichick as a coach, and against Vic Fangio, who's still green as a head coach. So that's why I think they're going to win, just based off of their head coach quarterback duo.
Yeah, I think I said in the Denver episode, this New England is the model of consistency, model of next man up. It is your things do not change there. You are not putting players that aren't ready to fit positions into where they need to be. And sadly, Denver has to out of necessity, especially on that offense. Having those young wide receivers against New England's defensive backs, I'm going to have to get New England's defensive backs. Go Pats.
All right, so then everybody agrees on a win on that one for New England?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So then New England gets a Week 6 bye. They come out of the bye, and they host the San Francisco 49ers. When I first went through the schedule, I actually had them beating the Niners because it was after a bye. But the more I thought about it, the more I think that Patriots offensive line does have some question marks. I think that Cam Newton is going to struggle a little bit. I don't know how the Patriots wide receivers are going to line up against a pretty solid secondary that the Niners have. And then offensively, the Niners' offense has gotten better with their offensive line. I think even if Mostert is gone, they've still got a good tandem of backs, and I like some of their young wide receivers. I say that San Francisco beats New England at home.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the 49ers are going to pick up this win. I think the Niners defense is just going to have a field day against the Pats offense. I think, when it comes to the 49ers D-line, then the Pats O-line, I think the 49ers have the clear advantage. And the linebacking core can handle the running backs. And even though the secondary isn't that great, I still think they can hold up pretty well just because, the Patriots don't have like a Michael Thomas, a Tyreek Hill, or Julio Jones, something like that. And I just think that even though the Patriots secondary, I think, can absolutely match with the weapons that the 49ers have, I just think with that stable of backs and that front seven looking a little suspect on the Patriots defense, they could have their way with them, and that's why the 49ers will win.
Yeah, these are two teams that are gonna play defensively and are gonna want to run the ball. And I have to give it to the 49ers, honestly, because it's just they're the better team. I mean, honestly, they are. Just all in all, defensively, offensively, they have a quarterback that they know what they can do with. Coming into the season, Brady, shut your fucking face. And it's they just look they look good. I have them losing 2 games before this. I don't see them losing 3 games in a row. So I have to give it to San Francisco.
Ooh, it's a little spoiler.
I've said those 2 games. I've said those 2 games already.
So my question is that if New England beats San Francisco, is New England the best team or a better team? We won't get into it.
The better team
we
that day.
won't get into it. I just wanted to push your buttons a little bit. Week 8 matchup, they then go to Buffalo, and for the first time since 2011, I have Buffalo beating New England. I think that the Buffalo defense is solid. I have these teams splitting their series. I just felt like it's time that Buffalo gets a win against New England up in Buffalo. Ironically, when there's probably no fans in the stands. But I like Buffalo in this matchup. I think that with the addition of Stephon Diggs, it's going to help the offense a little bit. Buffalo defensively and on special teams played New England really well last year. It's just offensively they didn't. In the first matchup, Allen got hurt and Matt Barkley had to come in, so, is what it is. But even then, Allen wasn't playing great. And then in the second matchup, when Buffalo was supposed to be getting momentum to go into the playoffs, Josh Allen really didn't show up. I think he improves a little bit with some of the new weapons that they have. I'm going to give my nod to Buffalo, but it's going to be a very close game.
I want to be on that similar way of thinking that the Bills could split the series, but I want to be consistent, and I just really don't trust Josh Allen. So I think the Patriots are going to win just because I don't think Josh Allen is good enough to beat a Belichick defense.
I agree. Josh Allen isn't good enough, but the rest of the team is. So it's this is it pains me to say it, but I think Buffalo can pick up the win. I think that they kind of have an identity on offense. They have a much improving defense, especially on that defensive line. We still don't really know what New England wants to do. Are we going to be throwing the ball, running the ball more often? I think that still by this week, they're still trying to find that identity. So I have to give it to Buffalo. There's more solid right now, and I hate to say it.
Yeah, and congratulations, Bills fans. First time since 2011. Party like it's 2011. I think they've only beaten New England 2 times at home since like the year 2000. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah.
They did it in like 2003 and 2011. They couldn't even do it when Tom Brady got hurt. No, wait,
In 2008.
Yeah, it was 2008. Yeah. All right. So then week 9 matchup, they then go to MetLife to go play the Jets. I have them beating the Jets here. The Jets just have way too many questions. Bill Belichick made Sam Darnold see ghosts, and I think he's going to do it again. New England beats the Jets.
To the Ravens.
Wait, what did you say? You like?
I said we're on to the Ravens.
Okay.
I don't need to say anything. Just Patriots win.
So I have them beating the Jets. You guys have them losing to the Jets, right?
No, we have them beating the Jets.
Beating the Jets easily.
I keep forgetting that we're a podcast sometimes and that like I actually say these things out loud.
Losing to the Jets.
No, beating the Jets.
Losing.
I'm gonna
beating off the Jets.
So you guys have them 0-7 heading into the game against the Jets, and okay. So at the halfway point of the season, Mitch, you have New England at 6-2. Skylar and me both have them at 4-4. Coming off of their loss to the Jets, according to Mitch and Skylar, they then get to host the Baltimore Ravens. I have them losing this game. The Ravens made them look like a joke last year. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a competitive game. But I think the Ravens have just improved with, especially the additions of guys like Derek Wolfe, fucking J.K. Dobbins in their draft, some of the other additions that they've had. Baltimore's just way too good. New England loses that game.
Yeah, I think the Patriots lose this. I think the Ravens have the advantage at all 3 levels. I think they have a way better offense. I think their defense is, better than what the Patriots have, and they beat them in the special teams. And, Harbaugh's, a pretty solid coach, so that's why the Ravens are going to win.
Don't think the Ravens are better than New England defensively, but I do think they're way better offensively. I think that's what matters in this game. So I have to give it to Baltimore. I think again, Baltimore they're one of my favorites to go all the way. Honestly, because just a consistent team. They added Calais Campbell for God's sakes on the defensive line. So yeah, I think I agree with Brady. I think it's gonna be a lot closer than it was last season, but I still have to give it to Baltimore.
All right, so then a Week 11 matchup, they then go to Houston to play the Texans. I have them avenging the loss from last year. Bill O'Brien is going to be crying like he typically does when he plays the Patriots. Houston just has way too many questions. The strong suit of Houston is that wide receiver core. The strong suit of New England is their defensive secondary. So I think they cancel out, and then it's going to come down to offensive line versus defense. New England's defense is a lot better than the offensive line that Houston's going to put out. And even though New England's offense has questions, they're still better than what New England – or then let me try this again. Even though New England's offense has questions, they're still better than what Houston is going to put on the field to stop them defensively. New England wins against Houston.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an easy win against Houston. The Houston Texans will be having their interim coach, and they're just going to be trying to find themselves for next year. And I just think that New England's offense is better than what Houston has, even though they have a better quarterback, and the defense. New England's defense is way better than the Houston's defense, so that's why they will get a pretty easy win.
I have to give it to New England too. I think that by this time, week 10, week 11, their offense should start finding itself. At this point, they should be developing a run game behind a pretty solid offensive line, and I think that just spells trouble for Houston, honestly. So I have to give it to New England.
Alrighty, Week 12 matchup. They then host the Arizona Cardinals. I think this is going to be a very interesting game to watch. Again, similar to Houston, the strong suit of Arizona is that passing offense. The strong suit of New England is their secondary. How is Kyler Murray going to handle a really good New England defense? He played pretty well against San Francisco, and San Francisco has a great defense. So this one is going to be a little bit more difficult for me, but I'm still going to give my nod to New England on this one. I think they're still better. The Arizona defense does have some questions. It's a toss-up. This is a very interesting game, but I think that New England wins at home.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Patriots are going to win this, but I definitely think this is definitely a trap game. I think the Arizona Cardinals have, the offensive weapons and they have a pretty solid defense, but the only reason I can't give it to them is because Cliff Kingsbury is their coach. Now, if this was like Bruce Arians was still the head coach, maybe I'll pick the Cardinals over the New England Patriots, but I don't trust Cliff Kingsbury yet, so that's why I have to give it to a proven commodity like Bill Belichick.
I was about to say the reason I'm giving it to New England is because their coach is Bill Belichick, and I think that this is the game where like young defensive ends and pass rushers like Chase Winovich, Josh Uche, Jennings, they just kind of they go after Kyler Murray in this game. I think that they can, and I think they're able to do that because of our defensive backfield. So I have to give it to New England.
I just checked some. Okay, cool. So then Week 13 matchup, they then go out west and play the LA Chargers. I have them winning this game. It's a running theme with these last three games where New England's defense is going to be too good to stop or too good against whatever offense the Chargers are going to put up, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or it's Justin Herbert. The Chargers defensively, I think, are going to give New England fits. But I think that New England's defense, I think, is actually going to put up some points in this game, and that's going to be the key. Win goes to New England.
Yeah, I agree with you. New England is going to win this, and the biggest reason is because the Chargers have a shitty quarterback situation right now. I don't believe in Tyrod Taylor, and I think all three of us agree that Justin Herbert is not the answer. So with that weakness with the Chargers, that's why New England will win this game.
Yeah, I would hate to be Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert throwing against this defense. I think Austin Eckler might
get sick.
Yeah, Austin Eckler might have some success in the running game, but again, don't really know. I agree with Brady. New England's defense is just too good at this point against this offensive team that's not where it needs to be. So I have to give it to New England.
All right, so heading into the final 4 weeks of the season, get ready for the playoff push. Mitch, you have New England at 9-3. Me and Skylar have them both at 7-5. Week 14 matchup, I think this is brutal here. So they're home against Arizona, and then they got to go fly out to Los Angeles to play the Chargers, and then they'll most likely fly back to New England, only to fly back out to Los Angeles to play the Rams. But I don't think it matters. I think they beat the Rams. The Rams offensively, we talked about, are a joke. Especially on that offensive line, the weapons are Cooper Kupp, and then really Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and not much else. Defensively, there's just massive questions in large parts of the secondary, the linebacker core, and the pass rush outside of Aaron Donald. New England wins this game.
Yeah, New England will win this game. There's no way a rebuilding team like the LA Rams are going to beat a Bill Belichick team.
Yeah. Again, I think I said in the Rams episode ad nauseum. I'm going to say it in this episode. The weakness of that Rams offense or defense is the middle of the field for them. They don't really have anybody in the safety. They don't have really anybody in linebacking core. And I think that this is where the short passing game that New England loves to use just picks them apart. And I think New England wins the game.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how Sean McVay handles his first go at the Patriots again since that Super Bowl loss. So that's something to keep in mind there. Week 15 matchup, they then go to Miami. I have them losing this game because it's in Miami, because it's end of the season.
Yep.
Right, who knows what's going to happen? Realistically, do I think they're gonna go 1-1 against Miami? No, but it just seems like that odd, kooky way that the football world works out.
Right.
That for some reason the newly founded ghost of Don Shula looks over the field there in Miami and makes it so that the Patriots can't win games against them end of the season. It's a rebuilding win for Miami, but Miami uses it to push on with some momentum. Miami wins.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Miami wins. That's all I can say.
Yep. Let's look at it. Late in the season, Patriots are in playoff position. It's in Miami. New England loses. So yeah, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I just hope it's like a clean loss and not like what happened the last 2 years where it was like down to the wire. So yeah, but I have to give it to Miami.
Yeah. All right, so Week 16 matchup. They then host Buffalo. I have them winning this game. This, to me, almost in kind of a similar fashion to the Miami game. It's end of the season. It's at home. It's against Buffalo. Playoffs are coming up. New England wins. Buffalo once again figures out how to choke a game in New England to end the season, just like they did last year. New England beats Buffalo, and they end up tying the series.
I have to give this to the Patriots. They're going to get a clean sweep of the Bills, even though I really don't want to say that. But Josh Allen is their quarterback. I don't trust him because he'll throw it 20 yards, farther than the receiver is. And if it was any other quarterback, I would say that the Patriots lose. But it's Josh Allen, so Patriots win.
Yeah, this is where Bill Belichick doesn't lose to the same team twice in the same year. That's just not how it works. He might beat them once and then lose to them later, but that's a different story. So I have to give it to New England. I think that, like Brady said, it's again end of the season. It's against Buffalo. We're both in playoff position. This honestly could be whoever wins this game wins the AFC East. And I have to give it to New England because fuck Buffalo.
Yeah, fair enough. So then Week 17 matchup, I think I know the answer to all this. They then host the New York Jets. I have them winning this game. At this point, the Jets aren't playing for anything in particular. New England is going to be fighting for a little bit of a higher seed now that there's only one team that gets a bye. Patriots beat the Jets, sweep the series.
Easy sweep. Jets are trash. Patriots win.
Go Patriots.
Alrighty, so let me just count this all up here. All right, so at the end of the season, Skylar, you and me agree on actually most picks here. We both have New England going 10-6 and 4-2 in division, which after some revisionism on my part, post the Buffalo episode, and I do have to apologize in the Buffalo episode, New England wins the AFC East once again, at least for me. And Mitch, you have them going 12-4 and 5-1 in division. So I'm assuming that's good enough for the playoffs for everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good enough for the AFC East for everybody?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I have to look right now where they're at in the playoffs, but
They would be my fourth seed in the AFC.
Fourth seed
as of
in the
right,
AFC?
Yep.
As of right
seed.
now, they're my third seed in the AFC.
I think they are also my fourth seed.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, again, like Brady said, it's Kansas City, Baltimore, and then 50 feet of crap. And I think that it's Bill Belichick. Like I have to say that. Like he's done more with worse. Like he really has. Like if you look specifically at the 14 and 15, like 2014, 2015, we had no reason to be going to the AFC championships with the offensive lines we had in those years. I think we can this year. Or not go to the AFC championship, but like make the playoffs at least, especially with the AFC, especially with that 3-game stretch against Arizona and both LA teams. I think we can. I think that will decide whether or not the Patriots make the playoffs.
For sure.
Is that 3-game stretch?
Yeah, I have them at the fourth seed also, just because of a tiebreaker with Indianapolis. I think my tiebreaker went to Indianapolis, so I have them at the fourth seed, but possibly the third seed, whatever.
It could go either way. Yeah.
Yeah, either way.
No.
All right, so no, they're good enough. I mean, hey, happy New England fans, you win in the AFC East again for the umpteenth time in a row. So
not this time, Baltimore, or not Baltimore.
There
Buffalo.
You go. Yeah.
Not this fucking time, Buffalo.
Can't even remember who's in your own fucking division.
Fuck you, Buffalo.
So, yeah, congratulations. You know, we're all pretty much in agreement on some picks. I think the only ones we really differ on are like the Raiders pick and the Seahawks pick and Buffalo, obviously. So that's really about it. But all right, so let's move into our let's move into our putts here and then our heroes. So what a putts is a segment we do every single episode where we pick a player, a team, an organization, a moment that just does something stupid, something ridiculous, something that we just think needs to be pointed out. And we like to call them what a putts. My nominee this week, who we actually talked about a little bit earlier in this episode, the brand new NHL team, the Seattle Kraken. I say that because I hate the name Kraken. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. It's very simple. To me, they could have called themselves the Seattle Krakens, and it would have worked so much better. When you look at the teams that don't have that plural, like the Jazz and the Heat and the Thunder, they're not animals, all right, like a Kraken is. I hate the team name as an organization. I feel like it. Granted, I never wanted them to be called the Krakens anyway. I wanted them to be called the Lumberjacks because I thought that was cooler. I like the team name Krakens. I hate the team name Kraken. My honorable mention for this also is the Minnesota Golden Gophers football team for giving out rings to all their players for winning the Outback Bowl. Because that's fucking ridiculously stupid. They put on their ring the Outback Bowl. They put on the Governor's Trophy, which they got from beating Penn State, which is fine. But then they also put the Big Ten West on there because technically they were co-champions because Wisconsin lost to Ohio State. So technically they were co-champions of the West, but they decided to get this massive gold ring to give all their players. It's fucking stupid. It's the definition of participation award. Fuck Minnesota. That's so fucking ridiculous.
You forgot the best part in the ring. They put on the ring that they hosted game day.
That's right. They also put on there that they got to host game day.
That's some Nebraska type stuff.
In a game that
it ain't.
Game day was there.
Game day was in Nebraska. We're not happy about that. We're not happy about that. The fact that the one game that game day decided to show up was Nebraska versus Ohio State. No, fuck that. We're not happy about that.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the game day episode they were there for was the one against Wisconsin where they fucking lost.
No, it was Ohio State. It was Ohio State.
No. I'm talking about Minnesota.
Oh, yeah. That was the one.
So why the fuck you put that on your fucking ring? I don't know. You don't see fucking North Dakota State putting game day on their ring, and they're fucking.
It's because they won 8 championships in a row.
Okay, fucking Delaware State hosted it a couple years ago. You don't see Army or Navy when they play it fucking do it. You don't see fucking like who else was a first timer? Fucking Kansas State or whatever a couple years ago. You don't see them do that shit. Fuck Minnesota, bro. That's so trashy of them.
I hope the Seattle Kraken bring Liam Neeson to every game, and before like the hockey puck goes out, he does release the Kraken.
That'd be fucking funny as hell.
Yeah. But all right, so my putts of the week to stay in the same state as your honorable mention is the Minnesota Vikings organization for what you said earlier, for deciding to give Mike Zimmer a multi-year contract extension. I think it is a very putsy move, and I was texting Brady about it, and it seems like the Minnesota Vikings wants to basically mirror what their quarterback is in Kirk Cousins. Mediocre person that'll get you some success, but will always choke in clutch. And I guess that's what they want to be with Mike Zimmer as their head coach. So,
yep.
What a putz.
My putz of the week is the New York Jets, specifically their owner, for having allegations of sexist and racist remarks made against him or made against staff and women and players. I'm getting tired of it. I'm honestly getting tired of not being surprised about white owners making racist and sexist remarks towards their players and towards the female employees that they have. So you know what, NFL? Do fucking better. Give some other people the fucking job. Give somebody else an ownership. Okay, it's getting tiring to be not surprised that, especially in New York, what was it, like Houston, the other guy, Houston said something about them being prisoners. Fuck old white owners in the NFL.
Hey, don't
specifically
forget
the Jets.
Don't forget he's also in trouble for using his position as an ambassador to make Trump money.
Well, again, not surprised.
Yeah, there's a laundry list of stuff.
No, it's a ton of shit. Yeah, but this is a sports podcast, so I kind of put that part out. But Brady, your hero.
Yeah, my hero. I'm trying to get the article. It's not, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Mitch. It will be one of these days when you do something with your life.
Oh shit.
My hero is Drew Holiday for the guard for the New Orleans Pelicans. We talked about kind of ad nauseum of some of the NBA players choosing to sit because they felt like they were just going to be kind of paid to shut up. Drew Holiday is going to be doing a really great thing. He is going to be donating the remaining salary he'll make in the bubble, about $5.3 million, to start a social justice fund in both LA and Compton. Indianapolis, where he used to play in New Orleans. He's donating money to African-American-owned businesses that have been affected by COVID. In case you didn't know, 40% of all African-American-owned businesses that shut down due to COVID will not be able to reopen due to lack of accessibility to things like small business loans. I think this is just a great thing. I think this is just one of those pieces of humanitarianism and social change and awareness that NBA players, that all sports players can do. If you're financially secure enough to be able to forego $5 million, then I think most NBA players can do a similar thing. We've seen other NBA players do great things for their communities. I mean, LeBron James for Northeast Ohio. What he's done, his school that he built, the kids he's sending to college is great. Dwayne Wade and all the communities he's been a part of. Giannis Antetokounmpo in both the Milwaukee community as well as his community back in Greece. We can literally go on, name any NBA player, and they've done great things for the community. But I wanted to highlight Drew Holiday because he's putting his money where his mouth was. He's putting his money towards making fundamental social change in this country. And so I want to applaud him, especially for the situation him and his wife, Lauren, went through a couple seasons ago. Lauren had massive, I believe, injury to the brain, just as they had a daughter and stuff. And so it's been a rough time for them, but he's doing a really great thing. And so I want to give Drew Holiday a round of applause for that. You're my hero, Drew Holiday.
Yeah, definitely one of the more underrated players and underrated people in general. So I'm glad you're highlighting a guy like that. For me, it was a little hard to think of a hero, so I kind of want to go with the Cleveland Baseball Organization. Even though it took them way longer than it should have done to change the name and the logo and that stuff, but I like the moves that they're making towards that change, with speaking with Native American communities about how to go about this the right way, whereas the Washington Football Organization is doing it all the wrong way. So I'm commending them for taking the right steps.
My hero. Oh, go ahead, Brady.
No, I want to agree. I think that's great. It's a good thing that they're taking the right steps and they're doing it, hopefully in a way that will create conversation and fundamental changes to why some of these terms that are used in depictions can be viewed as blatantly racist at its core. So no, that's good. Skylar, your hero?
My hero is Andy Hoffman. He is the father of Jack Hoffman, who was the kid that ran for a touchdown and started the trend of having kids run for touchdowns at spring games.
Sure.
His dad, because Jack just started playing football this last year, which nobody thought was going to happen with the cancer that he had. Andy, sadly, was just diagnosed with a brain tumor. So I just wanted to highlight him because he did a lot. He's done a lot for pediatric cancer research in the state of Nebraska and the whole. And his family's been through so much, and for them to have to go through this, especially at this time, it's hard to hear. But as a Nebraska fan, as a native Lincolnite like him, I just wanted to know that I'm calling him out because he's done a lot for Nebraska. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. We hope him and his family the best, and that everything will work out for them. I do remember, what was the son's name? Nathan?
Jack Hoffman.
Jack Hoffman.
Tiny little guy.
Running the touchdown, and now we see it a lot, and now we also see spoofs of it where they have the, Make-A-Wish kid who runs a touchdown, but the other team doesn't know he's a Make-A-Wish kid, type thing. So those are always, it's created a trend that I think is very fantastic. So yeah, best wishes to his family. For those of you who don't know, we like to do the hero episode because there's a lot of hero portion of the episode because there's a lot of people who do a lot of really great things in the sports world, whether players or sometimes owners, or just fans and stuff, and it's stuff that should be highlighted. So we thank everybody. If you guys have any suggestions for any putzes, what's
heroes,
list, heroes, anything like that, email us. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Follow us on everything: Spotify, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, YouTube, all of it. I'm sure I forgot one in there, whatever. And then email us, fourthstringsp@gmail.com, fourthstringsp@gmail.com. If you guys have a good point, if there's something we talked about in a previous episode you want to re-highlight, hey, we'll come back to it. We'll gladly come back to it.
Call up Brady for changing his schedule with the Bills. Call it. Do it.
I didn't change my schedule with the Bills.
Or for having New England win the AFC East. Call him out for it because he gave it to you guys. And now
that is true. I did do that. But in my defense.
Or for not having Kobe in the top 10.
Or not having Kobe in the top 10. He gave his reason, but you can still call him out for it.
You can still call me out for it. In my defense with the Buffalo thing, that was before they signed Cam Newton. So I was under the impression New England was playing with Jared Stidham.
All right, his address is
I don't care, whatever. What'd you say, Mitch?
I said his address is at. He'll be
The
home
fact that he's such a homer when it came to the Packers draft. I mean, that's just
You
my
and me,
opinion.
you and me gave the same grade for our teams.
Yeah, but mine actually made sense.
We could argue that it didn't, but whatever.
I'm the most realistic.
You're not.
How many
What?
games did he have? How many games did he have
fucking
Indy losing in a row?
losing 9 games in the middle of the season.
No, when it comes to drafts, I didn't favor anyone. Even with the Packers, I gave him a shitty grade. I could have
I
given
think
an A
with
plus
drafts,
like you
like
did,
the
but
highest grade you've ever given is like a B.
No, he gave an
I've given a couple A's. I think I gave the Baltimore an A, and then
At the end of the season, we're just gonna have to see
Minnesota
we're gonna see who is the least like dog shit when it comes to grades. When it's like,
Yeah, we can review it. We can do a year.
it's not
review.
Jacksonville.
goddamn Jacksonville.
Should
God.
have given. I'm just gonna give every draft grade an A plus after this. I'm gonna rationalize it in my own fucked up way. I'm gonna be like, okay,
Because that's what you
this
do.
guy's gonna run for Dan Morgan for the Jets is gonna throw
That one game this guy
12,000
had
yards.
against this one game this guy had against Syracuse. He was like all American level. But you know what? And he can do the same thing in the NFL, even though he was dog shit the rest of the season.
It's gonna
Hands down.
only hire like 2 D2 and D3 players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Kyle
Well,
Duggar.
Did you see this dude from Lenore Ryan, man? Lenore Ryan football.
He still looks
Powerhouse.
he's like a grown, like, it was really funny. I watched some of his tape. He's a grown ass man against these tall, like, tiny dudes and just destroying them because he's like 6'2", 217 pounds, and he's just massive.
But no, we thank everybody. In the next episode we have on the New Orleans Saints. We're going to head back to the NFC, and then we're going to tackle the 2 New York teams before we move on with our list. On the next episode, we're going to talk about MLB scores. Ironically, the first MLB game that comes back gets hit with a rain delay in the 6th inning.
It ended at 6. They called it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So they can't even finish a fucking game. They can't even finish a fucking baseball game. But we're also got NBA basketball that's coming up here. Scrimmages have already taken place. And then we've got seasons actually starting towards the end of the month here. And then we got training camps that are starting up for football. Guys talking about the face masks they're going to have to wear and stuff. This is great. Sports is picking back up. We can have days where we can sit back and watch sports. And that means we can also have days where we can sit back and talk about sports. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
No, I don't think so.
Keep wearing your masks.
Keep wearing your masks. Honestly, it's the only way that we're going to get sports back. So please.
If you want football, wear your fucking masks.
Just
Yeah,
keep
wear a
wearing
Bane
your
mask.
masks. Yes.
All the masks.
Wear multiple masks. It's like condoms. Just wear 2 of them.
You think darkness is your ally?
You think darkness is your ally?
I'm not. You guys. It's ruined. Now we can't. Now I'm gonna scrap this fucking episode. I'm gonna make us re-record it. So whatever. Good night, everybody.
Ah!